Lawrence Fox on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Good evening, I'm Ray Addison in the GB Newsroom. Catholics have been praying for former Pope Benedict at Mass services across the United Kingdom after he died aged 95. Earlier, Pope Francis paid his respects to his predecessor whilst addressing worshippers at the Vatican. Tomorrow morning, Pope Benedict's body will be brought to St. Peter's Basilica. He'll lie in state for 3 days until his funeral on the 5th of January. The president of Ukraine says his military shot down 45 drones in the first few hours of 2023 as Russia continued its attack on the country. Speaking as missiles rained down on Kyiv, President Zelensky posted a New Year message saying he hopes the war with Russia will end this year. Ukraine's armed forces say Russia launched 12 airstrikes across the country overnight. Curfews ranging from 7 p.m. to midnight made celebrations for the start of the new year impossible in public spaces. A record number of migrants, almost 46,000, crossed the English Channel to the United Kingdom in 2022. According to the Home Office, there's been a steady increase since 2018, when just under 300 people were detected. Prime Minister has promised to introduce laws this year making it clear to those who enter the country illegally that they won't be allowed to stay. And yellow warnings for ice have been put in place across Scotland, Northern Ireland and much of northern England tomorrow. The Met Office is warning the public to take care with an increased risk of slips and falls on untreated pavements. Icy roads may also cause traffic delays. The warnings are in place until 11 a.m. We're on TV, online and on DAB Plus Radio. This is GB News. Time now for headliners.
Happy New Year and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Monday's newspapers. I'm Andrew Doyle and joining me tonight are two of the country's top comedians, Leo Kearse and Francis Foster. So let's start by looking at tomorrow's front pages. We're going to start with Monday's Mail, and they run with Rishi's triple New Year headache. That's not a New Year's hangover. It's the NHS delays, record levels of illegal migration and rail strikes. Monday's Eye is going with Tory voters blame the government for NHS crisis, poll shows. Front cover of The Guardian now. Fury administers plans for new real terms pay cut for NHS staff. And Monday's Mirror has 500 deaths a week due to NHS crisis. And Monday's Express also has the same story there, 500 patients dying a week due to delays. And The Sun goes rogue a bit with Harry versus Will's gloves are off. And Monday's Daily Star, they completely go rogue with barking mad. Thousands of new trees are dying, apparently, because of shoddy council planting. And those were your front pages. OK, so let's get the ball rolling by looking at the front cover of Monday's Daily Mail, Leo.
So, yeah, this is Rishi's triple New Year headache. They've got number one. There's the devastating revelation from the nation's top A&E doctor that up to 500 patients are dying each week because of delays in casualty units. Of course, prior to those delays, people were immortal and nobody died. Number two, they've got the figures in for the whole year, and a record 45,756 migrants crossed the channel last year illegally. I mean, those are the ones that we know about. I should imagine there's some that weren't detected, despite efforts by ministers to try and stop the people smuggling. And finally, the third thing that's a pain for Rishi is trade unions are preparing more strikes. We had strikes over Christmas, with Royal Mail, we've had driving instructors, all kinds of border force. Obviously, most things actually work better without public sector people there.
It's such a shame for Rishi. He just gave us his New Year message of hope and positivity, and on the first day, it all gets scuppered. Yeah,
it's almost as if prime ministers always have issues to deal with. But yeah, and he said in his New Year message that 2022 had been tough because of the cost of living crisis. I mean, it must be bad if somebody's married to a billionaire is having a tough time.
Francis, what do you make of this? I mean, the illegal migration has apparently risen exponentially this year compared to last year. Is he going to be able to do anything about it? Because it doesn't seem to be that the Conservative government has been able to tackle this.
I would actually contend that and say they haven't wanted to tackle it. Priti Patel came up with the Rwanda plan. I've frequently made the point, she might as well have said that they're deporting them to Narnia, because it was never going to happen. It was never going to work.
Well, not with the European Court of Human Rights, it wasn't. Maybe if they weren't outsourcing their judiciary elsewhere.
Exactly. And look, the problem is, and because you get a lot of people on the left who are saying, we should just let everybody in. But the reality is these people come over to this country via people smugglers. That's it. Who they're paying thousands of pounds, they're risking their lives. People are dying in the channel. It needs to be sorted out, and the Conservatives don't want to do it.
And also, they're not the best people. I mean, I'm not being funny. I've got absolutely no problem with high levels of immigration from Hong Kong, Ukraine, places that will be culturally assimilable. They don't have to be similar, but just, basically places where you can form a queue.
Yeah, all great food.
Yeah. But Leo, you can't make assumptions about all of the people that are coming over here. I mean, no. A lot of them will have legitimate reasons for wanting to come here. They're just not going about it the right way.
They've all got legitimate reasons for wanting to come here. It's just, the country. The only people who want this insanely high level of illegal immigration is people on the left and people on the far right, because people on the far right know that it will precipitate a raft of support.
But even if you take the view that, we need to be compassionate to these people, which I do take that view, but even if you take that view...
It's compassionate from a distance.
But it's not compassionate anyway to enable a system where people smugglers are able to abuse these people and exploit them. So even if you take that view, you need to do something about this, surely.
Absolutely. And every single person, we all know, every single person who says, we should just let everybody in, we should have all the poor and dispossessed of the world, or just anybody who wants to come here, all in their millions, just come in. None of them are going to put a sign on their door saying, anybody who's come across the channel, my door's unlocked, come on in, and make yourself at home, have a kip on the couch. None of them are going to be doing that.
And this article
They're putting us for fools.
This article is also talking about the NHS figures, 500 dying a week. We're going to get to that in a moment because all of the front covers are covering it.
Yep.
But this article in the Mail is also talking about the unions walkout and the rail strikes again. I mean, that's not looking good, is it, Francis?
No, it's not looking good, because the problem that we're facing now is because of lockdown, because we printed too much money, we now have a massive problem with inflation. And a lot of the time with these public sector workers, after the 2008 crash, a lot of them haven't had a significant pay rise. So they haven't had a significant pay rise, plus the problem with inflation, so they've had a very real wage cut. And they've all walked out en masse. So we are facing a huge problem in this country.
So can you sympathise with the rail strikers, Leo?
No, of course not.
Stupid question, really.
It should have been, as soon as we developed that robot arm that can pick up a cup of coffee or press a button, they should have been replaced. Because that's most rail staff, you can replace the cleaners with one of those. You can get them for your living room. The
voice of compassion,
Hoovers that go
Leo
along remote.
I am never sitting next to you on a train ever again.
Sorry. Now, look, the NHS is dominating all of the front pages, as I said. We're going to go to the front cover of the Mirror now, Francis.
And the Mirror goes with the story 500 deaths a week due to the NHS crisis.
So this is a new poll, is that right? Or a new sort of study?
Yes. So the Royal College of Emergency Medicine President Dr. Adrian Boyle has said that the NHS cannot continue like this, and it is unsafe and undignified, as he fired off a warning to the Tory ministers.
Yeah.
Hundreds of patients are dying unnecessarily as a bad flu season compounds systemic problems in the NHS. So there's COVID, there's flu, there is also problems as well because during the lockdowns, people weren't getting treatment for a variety of different ailments.
Yeah.
Cancer deaths are up. And what we have now is a system that is dangerously close to collapse.
So the point here isn't that people are dying while they're waiting for treatment, which will inevitably happen anyway, but that these are preventable or unnecessary deaths, right?
Yes,
Is that right?
yes, and people are actually, they're dying whilst they're waiting for treatment. They're also simply unable to get treatment of any shape or form. There's actually a story here that ambulances don't have sufficient oxygen. So even if they're able to get to somebody's house to treat them, it might not make a difference if they need oxygen.
So, Leo, what can they do? What can the government do to sort of get the NHS in order?
Well, what they're doing is they're spending a lot more money. They're pumping an extra £14.1 billion of extra funding into the NHS, which is a lot of money.
It is.
And
much needed, though, right?
It's much needed, but I mean, where's it going to come from? We're already paying so much tax.
Well, they can print some more.
I can't. No, that's the problem. That's why we're in this.
It worked so well last time.
That's why we're in this mess. There's so many unfilled positions, and it's not just about money. There's so many unfilled positions in the NHS. I really think the government has really dropped the ball on, well, everything, but in particular the NHS, and people are being pushed into the private sector. People are being pushed to see private doctors and also become their own GPs and self-prescribe things, and that's not safe.
And they can't afford it.
For the amount of money, yeah, exactly. It's an option that's only available to people who can afford it.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, those people have already paid tax for the NHS. Like, what on earth is going on? We pay so much tax in this country. So much of it is frittered away. We've got a story coming up about millions being given to councils to plant trees, that the trees are dying because obviously councils can't do anything properly.
Yeah.
Why are we wasting so much money? Equality, diversity and inclusion. The Arts Council. Why have we got an organisation that pumps out our taxes to artists?
Well, don't worry about it, Leo, because as soon as Labour get in, they will definitely sort all this stuff out. We're going to stick with the care industry, Leo. This is the Telegraph. They've got a story about childcare, is it?
Yeah, so Rishi Sunak has shelved plans for a major overhaul of the childcare system that was aimed at saving parents money and helping them back into work. So Liz Truss had been looking at, I mean, obviously a lot of Liz Truss's ideas got scrapped, but she'd been looking at increasing free childcare support by 20 hours a week and ending the mandated staff-to-child ratio, so that, there's quite a small number of children per member of staff, for safety reasons. And this, I mean, you might think this is going to cost money at a time when we can't afford to spend any more money, but long term this is quite a good idea. And I'm not normally in favour of like the big state or anything, but we do need to do something to pay for my child.
Yeah, it's all about you, Leo.
I'm a big fan
you.
of socialism when it comes to me.
Yeah.
But this is something we need to encourage people to have more children because our replacement rate is way below where it needs to be. And I think we should have more people sort of coming into the country. Instead of coming across the channel in rickety boats, they should come through women's birth canals. And that's a good way.
All right, well, I'll make sure I have a few children for you.
And this also, it would mean parents could work harder and contribute more to the economy.
So it's a thumbs up from Leo Kearse. What do you think, Francis Foster?
Well, I think that a part of the problem, which they didn't actually touch on in this article, was the number of people who took early retirement during the pandemic. It was around 700,000. So what you have is around 700,000 people who are all highly skilled, a lot of whom were doing their jobs very, very effectively. And en masse, they left the workforce. So what we've been left with is a workforce that is lacking leadership, and it's got a lot of roles that simply can't be filled.
Is it just the good people that left, or are we just left with the dregs? Is that what you're saying?
That's pretty much.
Yeah, not a good situation at all. But we're going to move away from the NHS now to the Sun newspaper, which has a story about the Princes Harry and William. Francis, more feuding.
Yes, and you didn't do the headline justice. Harry and Will's gloves are off.
Oh, I missed that.
Yes.
Because I naturally correct bad spelling whenever I read something. That's just my instinct. That's what I do.
Big typo for a front page.
It would be a massive typo, wouldn't it? But it's actually a very funny pun.
It is.
Yeah.
So there we go. So the royals are bracing for Meghan to release her tell-all memoir. There we go. In the desperate hunt for privacy, they're releasing another 16 memoirs. But Prince
well, hasn't Harry got 4 coming out?
Oh, yeah, he's got...
Yeah, so it's not just the first one, Spare.
Yeah.
There's another 3 planned.
How long has he lived?
Yeah, well, exactly. There's not really that much to say. Although they did have a 6-part documentary.
Yeah, on Netflix.
You know, so, you know.
There you go, because obviously when you want privacy that much, you need to make sure that people know that you need the privacy.
Yes.
But anyway, according to a publishing insider, the Duke of Sussex has gone in hard on his brother. That's problematic. And it's going to be released on January the 10th. But the problem is it's looking like he's actually gone quite soft on his dad, and he's not been too hard on his dad. But there's going to be a lot of juicy stuff regarding William.
Is it just going to... So is William going to write a book now about Harry? Is that the way he's going to get... Is it just going to be a war of memoir?
I think William's got more class than that. Also he doesn't need the money. He's still like king or whatever, or prince.
Oh, well, he will be king.
Yeah, he's
exactly.
one of them. But who's buying these books? I mean, I couldn't believe it. I watched some of the Netflix documentary, and it was the most, like, the dullest, most dreary thing, the most self-aggrandising thing.
Yeah.
And then it was the #1 thing on Netflix, apparently.
So someone's watching it?
Well, I guess it was me.
Well, it was you.
But I was only watching it to confirm that it was terrible.
Is it just a lot of people hate watching it, or a lot of people watching it out of curiosity?
Yeah, curiosity, I think, is the thing. And now the curiosity is sort of waning because we've already, we've seen all the juice.
Francis, law of diminishing returns. They can't milk this cow for too long.
Listen, Harry has received an £18.4 million advance on the book. Okay. So for that money, I'd throw my family under the bus.
Fair enough.
There you go, Mum. Under the 57 you go.
Finally, we're going to go to the front cover of the Daily Star. Leo, what's this one about?
So it says barking mad, and this is the Daily Star actually leading with some of the best investigative journalism on all the front pages. So they've discovered that £11 million of taxpayers' cash has been spent on thousands of trees to be planted in a sort of mad dash for eco-credentials by councils. And because they've been in such a hurry to plant them, they haven't planted them properly. And now they're all dying. So apparently the sort of average rate of death for freshly planted trees is around 90 to 95%. But this is way more, and most local authorities aren't even recording if they're dying. So who'd have thought the government is terrible at spending money? I mean, it's almost as if the government shouldn't take tax office and try and spend it, because we'll spend it better ourselves. We could have planted those trees ourselves if it was something that needed doing.
This is quite a hard-hitting story for the Daily Star. I mean, yesterday they were imploring us all to get drunk throughout January on their front cover.
It's good idea. It's almost like when you see a piece of fair and balanced journalism in The Guardian. It's,
has that happened for at least 10 years?
Well, the Michelle Mone story was absolutely a brilliant piece of investigative journalism by them. But yeah, it just goes to show that the amount of wastage that goes on within government departments. We are strapped for cash and we're wasting it at a rate that it seems to be on an unprecedented scale.
Yeah, not good at all. Well, anyway, that's enough for part 1. Coming up, we've got Extinction Rebellion's New Year's resolution, what social media is doing to children's mental health, it isn't good, and what life could look like after death for one particular New Yorker. See you in a minute.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. B, I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle, and my comedy panel, Leo Kearse and Francis Foster. Now you've seen what's on the front pages, we're going to have a look inside. We're going to start here with Monday's Guardian. And Extinction Rebellion have made some New Year's resolutions, Francis.
Yes, they have. The Extinction Rebellion announces move away from disruptive tactics. So Climate Protest Group says temporary shift will prioritise relationships over roadblocks. It's almost like they've realised people are getting really annoyed with them by blocking the roads and basically causing a health and safety hazards and stopping people from getting to work. And the Climate Protest Group say they're shifting tactics from disruptions such as smashing windows and gluing themselves to public places.
You mean they're going to stop breaking the law?
Yeah, they're going to stop breaking the law.
It's a good start.
And they're going to prioritise attendance over arrest and relationships over roadblocks.
Yeah, so conversations.
Yes,
they might actually persuade someone this way.
Yeah.
Whereas all the screaming and shouting and gluing, that doesn't seem to work, does it?
But the thing is, and the problem that I have with groups like this and Just Stop Oil is none of the solutions that they offer, they're not workable.
No.
Well, you're going to stop oil, and then what are we going to do after the entire economy
Live in
crashes?
caves.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, whilst the Indians and the Chinese, they're still going to pump out tons of carbon.
So, Leo, Just Stop Oil aren't saying they're going to stop these sort of disruptive tactics. It's just Extinction Rebellion. So it's one step.
Yeah, so Just Stop Oil are still going to do it. I mean, all of them are massive hypocrites. All of them use loads of energy and transport and all the stuff that they try and stop. So yeah, they're complete hypocrites. If they cared about reducing their own carbon footprint, because I don't care what they do with their own carbon footprint. Don't come at my carbon footprint. It's mine. You know what I mean? But if they want to reduce their own carbon footprint to zero, if they really wanted to do that, they could do it by killing themselves. And
yes, but of course you're not recommending that. But
no, I'm just saying it's an option.
Now, Leo,
if you really care that much, why don't you lead by example?
Well, I don't think they're going to do that. But do you have any sympathy at all, Leo? I know you're going to say no, but just hear me out here. Insofar as they genuinely believe that the world is coming to an end, that the apocalypse is round the corner, unless you, Leo Kearse, change your behaviour and stop flying all around the world.
But they're a doomsday cult. I mean, that's not a rational position. And we've seen, for as long as I've been alive, which is a long time, people have said that the world is about to end. There's going to be another, in the 70s, it was a new ice age. Then there's all this, where acid rain and every year there's the world's about to end. And it's still here and it's going to continue to be here. I mean, the world is getting slightly warmer in certain places and that's not entirely a bad thing. It's going to be bad in some ways, good in other ways, but the government response to it is already happening, so I don't even know what they're upset about. The government is already doing way more than it should. And the government response is going to be far more harmful and kill far more people than climate change.
I do remember, Francis, being at school and being taught in a geography lesson that by the year 2000, all fossil fuels will be depleted.
Yes.
And they're not.
And the problem with that is geography lessons were all taught by PE teachers for some weird reason.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So what do PE teachers know about anything? But look, the thing is they do have a point in some instances. 2022 was the warmest on record in the UK, the Met Office has said, and the 10 warmest years on record have all occurred since 2003. But the problem is that technology is what is going to be used to solve this problem.
Yes.
Nuclear power is a far more credible solution.
Yeah, but so the doomsday people, they never really think about the history of humanity and the way in which humanity develops new technology to deal with problems. They'd never take that into account. And you would have thought that would be relevant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so important that once you highlight a problem, and look, most people are on board. I mean, Leo's in a minority of about 8 people, right? But most people are on board with saying...
Once people see the science... I mean, the natural world is constantly sequestering carbon from the atmosphere. If you look at the White Cliffs of Dover, that is all calcium carbonate that's been brought out of the atmosphere. The carbon's been dragged out of the atmosphere by shellfish. And that's happening all the time. We're going to get to the point where historically, we're at very low carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. We're going to get to the point where we actually need to put carbon dioxide back in.
But these are the kind of conversations we can now have because Extinction Rebellion are going to talk to you, Leo, rather than glue themselves to your front porch.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them.
Well...
Just, whatever they want to do, do it. Do whatever you want to do in your own life. Do it.
Leo.
This is my life. You can't control me.
Well, could somebody from Please Just Stop Oil just basically stick themselves to Leo's flat?
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
We've got to move on now to Monday's Telegraph. This is bad news for the English taxpayer. Leo, you've got this one.
Yeah, so more taxes.
You love taxes, don't you?
No, I wouldn't mind if we got like some premium, Swiss-style service for the tax that we pay. But we don't. This is a classic example. So English taxpayers are bankrolling ghost government offices across Wales as 9 in 10 of Wales's civil servants work from home. So
9 in 10?
Yes, there's over 5,287 people are contracted to work for the Welsh government. But the only people actually turning up to work, I mean, like, in terms of actually turning up to the office, but working from home is usually a skive anyway. Just 549 people turned up in September.
OK, so does this suggest that devolved governments are not necessarily a good idea?
But devolved governments are a terrible idea for a lot more reasons than this. But, I mean, this doesn't just happen in devolved governments. This sort of waste and profligacy is happening in Westminster's the government that Westminster oversees. So, I mean, working from home is resulting in lower quality public services because it's hard to sort of measure. They don't have the mechanisms in place to measure output through working from home. But it's not even saving us money because they're still paying for all these offices.
I have to say, Francis, I'm not convinced by the working from home thing, because I don't work from home. I can't just leave a cardboard cutout of me to sit here and then I can sort of zoom in and do the rest.
You could try it.
Well, I could do that, yeah. What do you make of it?
Well, I think the problem is this, again, it goes back to the pandemic. And in fact, the private sector have seen much of the same problems that the public sector are seeing because people got used to sitting at home, basically doing a bit of work for about 40 minutes and then going off, having a wander, having a scratch, coming back, doing another couple of minutes, not doing a lot of work. And people have gone, actually, why do I need to go into the office? Why should I bother when I can just sit at home and do sweet nothing?
Yeah. So how would you resolve this? Would you have the Westminster step in and say to the Welsh Government, you've got to do something about this? Or do you think their autonomy should be retained?
They should cut some of the funding. I mean, surely, if only 1 in 10 people are actually turning up to the office, we can close offices, we can cut funding.
Maybe we should do it.
These people they're not like these hard-working headliners panellists who turn up for work for as long as an hour a day.
Exactly. It's been pretty tough.
Yeah,
you've worked hard tonight.
Plus 20 minutes preparation time. Let's not forget that.
Exactly. OK, we're going to move on to The Guardian now. And apparently social media is bad for children. Who would have thought that, Francis?
Exactly. Who would have thought that? A survey conducted by the youth mental health charity STEM4 said that nearly half of all children and young people questioned had become withdrawn, started exercising excessively, which is probably not a bad thing when it comes to the whole obesity crisis, stopped socialising completely, or self-harmed in response to online bullying and trolling about their physical appearance. 4 in 10 said they were suffering mental distress. 14% experienced eating difficulties such as extreme restrictive eating, binge eating, purging and vomiting. And a lot of this, and the vast majority, has been connected to social media. Children spending so much time on social media, TikTok, Instagram, whatever else.
But to what extent is it social media, or is it other factors that come into play? Fashions, social contagion, that kind of thing?
Well, look, there has always been a problem, particularly in all-girls schools, with anorexia. There has always been a problem with that.
I don't think there has always been a problem. I think there's been a problem with that for about 15, 20 years, no more than that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the generation above us, they didn't have social contagion anorexia in schools at all. And they didn't have self-harming either. That was something that came in. And then, so there is a susceptibility among teenage girls, particularly for social contagion. At the moment, it's non-binary identities.
Yeah.
But it was self-harming.
Although we've also got to look at... I mean, this is a survey done by a charity that depends on funding for this being a problem.
Yeah.
So this is like... me doing a survey saying, do we have enough Scottish comedians called Leo? We need more. There's a huge demand for them.
Yes.
So this is, there's that. And also, I don't know. People are sort of medicalising. I mean, I think there have been eating disorders, going back longer than that. Certainly in the 60s, people used to take all kinds of drugs.
Not to the extent, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe not to the same extent. Maybe not in schools in this contagion way. But certainly people have done that. And I also have noticed anytime women said to me, "Oh, I used to have this terrible eating disorder," and I see pictures, I'm like, "Wow, you looked amazing." You know what I mean? So
Leo, that's not helpful. Francis, isn't it the case though? There has to be some parental responsibility here. Don't I mean,
No,
surely just keep the kids off their smartphones, right?
Well, first of all, a child shouldn't have a smartphone. It really is that simple. Why do they need a smartphone? I remember when I was a teacher, I was a primary school teacher, and during parents' evening, I had one parent ask me the question, "Mr. Foster, how do I stop my child from going on their iPad?"
Yeah.
And
take it away.
Take it away from them. How about you start being a parent?
Did you say that to them at the parents' evening?
Yes, and that's why I'm here. Slap them, no. But that's the real problem with this, is that parents no longer want to be parents.
Yeah.
Children shouldn't have access to a smartphone. They certainly shouldn't have access to social media apps like Instagram and TikTok, which are fundamentally damaging to the human brain and particularly damaging to a young person's
I mean, I have to
brain.
say, whenever I see sort of parents in pubs or something or restaurants with their child, sometimes like a 5-year-old child just glued to an iPad.
Yeah.
I find it a bit heartbreaking.
The trouble is, it's incredibly convenient to just put your child in front of a screen instead of engaging, because obviously you want to go on your own phone.
Yeah, that's it. That's
it's
it.
an easy way to buy yourself that time.
I know. No, I sympathise because children are awkward and difficult as well.
They're
I get
annoying,
it.
but
yeah,
just
they're annoying.
pick the healthy option. Just give them Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. There we go. We're going to move on now. Leo, this is the Daily Mail. Now, we did discuss this story the other day. Do you want to fill us in? This is about your homeland?
Yeah, so Police Scotland basically came under fire for using the term minor attracted people or persons.
But we discussed this the other day, and it turned out they were and we actually did identify this, they were quoting someone else.
Well, this is what they say. So they've denied using this term minor attracted people as a euphemism for paedophiles in a major report after they came under fire. But they say they quoted this proposal document, but they still used the term in the report. That's not a lie.
But I think they... I think, Leo, to be fair, they also said that it was an unacceptable term. They did, and that was it.
They used it, and also they said part of their excuse was like, "Oh, we lobbied for this phrase, for this euphemism to not be used, as part of the EU consortium that we're part of." But they still, wanted us to use it. And it's like, well, you're Police Scotland. Why are you letting people push you around?
Look,
you're
Leo,
tougher than Warsaw.
I don't know. Look,
or
Police
whatever
Scotland are not tough by any... Like, they're the ones who are constantly tweeting out saying, "We're going to knock on your door if you post an offensive tweet."
That's how tough they are.
Yeah. Oh, I see. They're just psychotic. OK. Well, look, what do you think, Francis? Because I made this point the other day, is that, it was quite clear from the article that they actually hadn't used the phrase themselves in the way that Leo is describing. They're not advocating. It is a horribly euphemistic term, which kind of just takes away the horror of paedophilia by trying to dress it up in a nice, minor attractive person's
They're almost
way.
trying to add it as a sexuality.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think they should rebrand it minor attracted paedophile. And then, and then that's it.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy.
Oh.
They get the term map, and then, we know what it means.
Great solution there from Mr. Foster. We're going to move on to The Guardian, which brings us a story about a possible life after death for New Yorkers.
And this is a story that we can all get behind. New York governor legalises human composting after death.
Ugh.
So state becomes sixth to pass legislation since 2019 and gives New Yorkers access to an alternative green method of burial. But don't worry, it's not like, for instance, you could be disposed of and then we toss your body onto a compost heap. There is a way of doing it. So they must be delivered to a cemetery corporation certified as an organic reduction facility. Now, there's a euphemism if ever I've heard one. Suitably contained and ventilated, not containing a battery pack, power cell, radioactive plant or radioactive device. And then what they do is they put you on straw, and then the microbes then have a go at
I mean,
you.
it's a bit macabre, but I don't suppose it's any different, Leo, than when you're actually buried and the worms eat you. It's basically the same thing, just a faster process.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Although the fact that they're now, calling it human composting, this is something you can...
It's a bit dehumanising.
And you just know we're about 6 months away from them turning you into sausages.
I really hope you're wrong about that. I think I draw the line at cannibalism.
But the art collective Order of the Good Death, I mean, there's a catchy title, urged the governor to commit her signature and offered a series of decorative coloured cards reading, "Compost me and I want to be a tree."
Oh, but they make it sound so sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of this part. But coming up, why the Taliban are concerned for Andrew Tate, why stress could be the key to old age, and trouble brewing for Netflix. Don't go anywhere.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel. Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Monday's newspapers. We're going to start this section with the Daily Star, and the Taliban is worried about Andrew Tate's well-being.
Yeah, aren't we all? But yes, Samira Khan, who's the former Miss New Jersey, who's dubbed Andrew Tate's wifey. I don't know if they're husband and wife or boyfriend-girlfriend, but she claims that the Taliban are worried about the top G. That's Andrew Tate. I guess that's what. I don't know if that's what the Taliban called him. I'm assuming.
How does she know what the Taliban are worried about?
I'm not totally sure. Apparently, the Taliban have spoken to her. I don't know if there's been a message appeared in her toast or what. But the Taliban say Westerners need Andrew Tate because we are oppressed by feminists. So I'd agree with the Taliban there.
You're well on board with the Taliban, aren't you? But the Taliban are on Twitter an awful lot, so maybe they've been DMing her.
Yeah.
Sliding into her DMs. What do you think of this, Francis?
Well, imagine you wanting to, get your partner or your husbandee freed from a Romanian jail. So your argument is the Taliban are worried.
Well, this is not the best selling point. If it's true that the Taliban have contacted her and said this, wouldn't she keep that a secret? That doesn't help her position at all.
You want Extinction Rebellion.
Right, exactly.
Worried about. I love this line as well. They say, since his rise to fame earlier this year, the former kickboxing champion has proved a divisive figure. I mean, it's only the 1st of January.
He's already proving pretty divisive, so fair enough. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next story now. This is The Guardian, and good feedback on each other's love language is the key to a good relationship.
Exactly. So this is about how love languages, Andrew, has been helping couples for 30 years. And it may be that your partner and you speak two different love languages. So what it means is we all need different things in a relationship. Some people, they need affection. Some people need to be listened to. And it's all about that, basically, how in relationships we all need something a little bit different. Look at you with your sceptical little face. What's wrong with you?
I don't really understand what this is saying or why it's a news article.
No, I completely agree with you.
Article, but it's January the 1st, so,
so there's no news.
The journalists are printing stuff that they wrote 6 months ago.
So what's the upshot of this, Leo? What, do we just have to be more sort of verbal with our partners?
Basically, there's different ways that partners communicate. So she's saying that, you know, she communicates through little gifts and stuff, and he communicates through hugging or whatever, and he moaned that she wasn't giving him enough hugs, and she said, oh yeah, but like, so he was on a 10-hour flight for work. Well, Extinction Rebellion should go and sort that out. He was on a 10-hour flight for work, and she made him this care package, which included a bag of licorice, a pack of incense, and a bougie bottled lemonade. Oh, why don't you put a tampon in there as well?
Do you know what?
But here's the thing as well. She said, so they also told a story about, you know, I think it's the same person, and they, you know, he said to her that she's lacking in physical affection. She bristled at the accusation and then clamped her mouth shut, which I think is part of the problem.
Do you know what? All of these people sound insufferable. What newspaper is this in?
The Guardian.
Oh, of course it's in the Guardian.
Guardian.
OK, we're going to move on from that, hopefully to some proper news. Oh, no, we're sticking with the Guardian. Oh, well, so it appears the key to staying healthy is stress, Leo.
Yeah, apparently this week, stress is good for you.
Oh, is it?
So, yeah.
Good. So I can be stressful this week and I'll be fine. Yeah.
I've decided not to get my medical advice from newspapers. But research indicates that low-level stress from moderate exercise or work can enhance our cognitive and physical abilities later in life. I mean, I don't know if they're really... this isn't really stress. I consider stress to be when you're, you know, under, you know, you've got an ulcer and you're under so much, you know, burden. You've got various things you can't finish. This, like, work is mostly kind of good fun. You're seeing people you get on with and stuff.
Well, your work. I mean, a lot of people don't share that experience.
Yeah, and they sort of compare it to resistance exercise. So, you know, if you do resistance exercise, you get stronger, better, you know, cardiovascular system, stronger bones and stuff. And so it's the same kind of thing. If you work and if you have like some mental stress, you're working out the neural pathways so they're going to be open later on in life.
In other words, don't just have an easy life.
Don't just sit and... I mean, you see it in Scotland where so many people just sit.
Yeah.
If you just sit and stare at the TV, you're not gonna be...
This seems like just common sense. We all know this, don't we, Francis?
Well, I think more and more, actually, and in many ways, kudos to The Guardian for printing it. More and more people,
the moment... marry The Guardian?
Yeah, I should do, mate, because I still want my...
You're both speaking the same language of love.
Maybe I just want my comedy career back, so I praise The Guardian often enough on GB News and they'll get me back. But no, I genuinely think that there's a lot of people who see even the slightest bit of confrontation as a huge amount of stress. But actually, we need that in our lives. We need to be challenged. We need to be confronted. We need to work out problems. We need to solve problems.
Ironically, Guardian readers need to be challenged.
Yeah, they do indeed.
They absolutely do. Anyway, we're moving on to the Times now. And this mother is not giving up on her dreams, Francis.
No, at the age of 52... a part-time hairdresser has rediscovered her love of jogging in lockdown and has become a champion athlete. What's that, Slow's Newsday? No. Anyway, Sally Cook was used to ferrying her children to weekly swimming, athletics, ballet and football classes, but then she was at Stevenage Athletics Club and she started to join in, and now she holds a British records from 100 metres to 800 metres in the women's 50 to 55 age group, which I shall soon be identifying as, and then smashing all the records.
Now, come on, Francis, let's not be cynical about this. What's the name of this individual?
The name of this individual is Sally Cook. No, and it's remarkable. And here's the other thing.
I think she deserves to be named. It's a positive thing. A positive New Year's story. Come on.
Exactly. And she's faster than her daughter, Bluebell. And so there's something.
Is Bluebell like an infant, though?
No, she's 19. So Bluebell should be ashamed of herself.
I don't think you can get above the age of 4 with a name like Bluebell.
No.
You can't be a teenager called Bluebell.
I thought it was a name for, like, a cow or something.
It is a name for a cow, yeah. Anyway, any thoughts on this one, Leo?
Yeah, it's great. You know, she started jogging after being a hairdresser, which, you know, you don't run about a lot with hairdressing because you're carrying scissors. You're not allowed to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great. Well done, Sally Cook.
Well done. We're all very supportive of you, Sally. Anyway, we're going to move on now. This is The Guardian, which says there will be an exodus of customers from Netflix. It's already happened, though, hasn't it, I think?
Yeah, so they've already had an exodus of customers, but according to analysts, they're going to lose 700,000 more UK customers. So Netflix is expected to suffer a second year of falling subscribers in the UK as the cost... I mean, they blame the cost of living crisis and the streaming giant's new, cheaper ad-supported service not, winning as many users as they hoped.
Oh, it's not because all of their drama series are really preachy and insufferable.
Yeah, I mean, could that be part of it?
I don't know.
And also, they seem to pay over the odds. And I get the feeling whenever, people get commissioned to produce a show on Netflix, they really phone it in. They just pocket the cash and they phone it in. But we've had such a focus on, diversity and stuff like that, which is fine. It's great that, the diversity's out there. I think diversity was already there, but now we're being beaten over the head with it, and it's the only thing they focus on instead of focusing on characters, plot lines, writing, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, so I have to say there has been a drop in quality. Well, anything that's so preachy and ideological eventually just is boring, isn't it? It just is. It's
and look, and let's be honest as well, I don't know how they make money because only one person has a Netflix account in this country and they just share the password with everybody.
Well, I believe they're cracking down on this sharing of password business.
And they're actually funded by debt, so they're hugely indebted. So the spike in interest rates will be really bad news for them because it'll cost a lot more money to service
also, there's
that debt.
just so many other streaming services now with so many good shows. There's other things going on. The competition is right up there now, so they're going to have to up their game, and the way to do that will be to stop hectoring the public.
Yep.
Stop it.
Hopefully it'll stop at some point.
But look, let's be fair. It's not just Netflix.
It's everyone.
Yeah, it's everybody. Everybody seems to get an opportunity once they write a script to think, right, I'm going to tell you exactly how to think, instead of maybe just telling a story.
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of this part, but coming up in the next section, why China might start claiming the moon as their own, the booze that won't make you wake up with a hangover, and one man's strange collecting addiction. See you in a couple of minutes.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle. We're going to jump right back into Monday's newspapers now with The Mirror, and it looks like the UK's celebrity walrus is on his travels again.
Yes, Thor, the celebrity walrus, swims off to Arctic after enjoying New York break in the UK. So what happened? The New Year's Eve's fireworks in Scarborough were cancelled because of this walrus. So it's not enough that human beings are cancelling things, and now it's walruses, mate.
Well, they had to cancel the New Year's celebration because it would have upset the fireworks, would have upset the poor beast.
Political correctness gone mad, mate.
I thought it was very sweet, actually, this walrus just chilling out in Scarborough, lying there on the beach.
Yeah, so he was lying there on the beach. He was drawing huge crowds, so they didn't want to upset him because, he's a bit sensitive, as everybody is nowadays, to loud sounds,
Yes.
Did you see the video? Did you see what he was doing with his flippers?
No.
Oh, really?
What was he doing with his finger?
Well, we're going to keep that to ourselves.
All right, we're not gonna...
He was pleasuring himself.
Yeah.
But that's what animals do.
What?
He was having a bit of self-abuse.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
He's an animal. He's like when you go to the zoo and you watch the monkeys. You know, what do you expect?
And you can't help yourself.
Anyway, Leo. But look, I think
monkeys.
But I think it's. I didn't know this about walruses, that they sometimes just rest halfway through. I mean, that's what all he was doing, right? He was just chilling out, basically.
Yeah. Well, and then.
Why would you choose
relieving
Scarborough?
a bit of tension.
It's a holiday destination.
It's a holiday destination,
Yeah.
to be fair. But yeah, I thought it was a quite heartwarming story.
Yeah.
I'm all for the walrus. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the next story. This is The Telegraph, bringing us a story about something many wish they had last night as they wake up with huge headaches today, Leo.
So this is great news. So the government's former drug czar, Professor David Nutt, remember he was fired because he made comments about ecstasy, saying it wasn't as bad as the government said it was. So he's developed a new chemical. I mean, they say chemical. It's a drug. He's developed a new drug. He's a drug baron now.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's developed a new drug called Alcarel. He was great in the American office, that mimics the effects of alcohol. He's currently raising cash to fund its launch. So if there are any gangsters out there who want to invest in a drug baron...
So you can effectively get drunk, but have none of the negative side effects?
This is what he's saying. I mean, I assume a drug dealer would say that his stuff is good.
Yeah, yes, we shouldn't take him at face value on
So it puts you in the 2-pint zone all night. So you drink more than 2 pints and or 2 pints worth, and you don't get any. You don't get drunker than that. It sort of caps your drunkenness.
Well, what's the good in that?
Happy level, and then you don't have a hangover.
No, I think that's fair enough. But the thing is, most of us drink alcohol for the flavour, for the taste. You know, if you have a decent. No, don't we?
No.
You getting this, Francis?
No, nobody drinks alcohol for the flavour.
If you find a decent Sancerre, chilled to the right temperature, that's what I'm after. I don't want to get wasted on buckfast like some sort of Scot.
Yeah, I do cocaine for the smell.
Come on, Francis, do you think this is a good idea? Would you? I mean, you don't drink, so this is perfect for you.
Yeah, it is perfect. Look, and we interviewed David on my show.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and I really like him. I think he's great. He's a very interesting guy. So I would be happy to try it. It won't go down well in either Ireland or Scotland because you both have a problem with the drink.
It's not a problem, it's a cultural difference. You need to respect this, right?
Also, this stuff is very expensive, so a half litre at the moment costs £30.
Really?
Yeah.
No, this is a great idea. I remember trying poutine when I was a child, which you're really not meant to do. It's really, really extreme, something like 70%.
What's poutine?
It's like it's just an illegal self-made...
moonshine.
Is it moonshine?
It's Irish moonshine.
How did you get your hands on that?
Oh, because I had irresponsible grandparents.
Of course you did.
Anyway, we're going to move on to the next story now. This one is the Daily Mail. And China could have some major colonial ambitions, Francis.
Absolutely. China could claim the moon as its own territory and ban US astronauts from touching down. NASA boss warns.
What, can they do that? Because didn't the US... Well, they put their flag there first.
Yeah, they put their flag there first. So
in the 1960s?
In the 1960s. But currently, there's no one there at the moment, so finders keepers, losers
the flag's
weepers.
still there.
Yeah, exactly. So in a new interview, the NASA administrator, Bill Nelson, says he and others within the scientific agency, they're getting very concerned and very worried about it because he's worried that the Chinese could corner the market on resource-rich locations on the moon's surface. And not only that, they can then try and block out US satellites from their vantage point on the moon.
What are the rules? Who owns the moon?
I don't think anybody owns it right now. I mean, if anybody did, I guess it would be America because they planted the flag in it first. But maybe, I guess it is, like you say, like the strongest wins.
Well, it's whoever colonises it first.
Yeah,
whoever terraforms it.
Yeah, you can say, no, that's ours, we put a flag in it. But unless you can actually stop them, then you can't.
And if the Chinese get there first with this and they start putting buildings and, a Starbucks... Restaurants, exactly.
COVID quarantine camps.
Yeah,
there we
exactly.
Go.
Just weld people into their flats.
Scary stuff, scary stuff. Anyway, we're going to move on to this story now. This is The Sun, and this man has an addiction and he just can't pack it in.
Oh.
So a dad who's collected a record-breaking 19,500 crisp packets is preparing to pack in his passion after 10 years. Sounds like a bit of a silly story. Then you read into it, and it's actually really sad. So he began collecting packets in 2012 as a distraction when his partner Joanne Richardson was diagnosed with breast cancer and given 6 months to live. So he needed something to. Yeah, it was really sad.
That's not as flippant as I thought the story was. I regret that pun now. I've made light of it.
And he's collected all his family and friends, give them the crisp packets. He grills them and they turn into like a tiny shriveled up ball.
Yes, I used to do that.
And then he puts them in water and they make nice patterns. And so
this is quite creative as well.
Kind of creative, slightly worrying. He's unemployed, which didn't hugely surprise me. But he's going to go on and get 20,000 by February, and then he's going to stop doing it.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Francis?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's like when someone says I can quit at any time.
But it is an addiction, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an addiction.
So there's that. You remember that series Lunatics that Chris Lilly did, the Australian comic?
Yeah.
And there's that character in that, and she just has various rooms full of odd things that she's collected over many years. Those people exist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's whole series about people who just can't throw things away and they just keep them, and it can ruin their life. But isn't it a really strange addiction? Where does that come from psychologically?
Because it's a desire to disconnect. Essentially, that's what all addictions are. Yeah, it's a desire to disconnect. And whether you disconnect with something like drugs, heroin, alcohol, that's essentially what an addiction is.
No, but those make more sense to me because that's a form of escapism. If you get drunk, then you're out of the world.
This is control and not being able to let go. And hoarders always say, "Oh, you can't throw away that broken umbrella. I'm going to fix it," and all the rest of it. So they can sort of see the potential in things and the nurturing in things.
Is that what it is?
And I think it's something that a lot of people have. A lot of people have that as a psychological trait, but with certain people, it gets way overblown.
No, I have it a little bit. I'll be like, well, I won't throw that away in case I need it at some point. But there's no way you're going to need a lot of the stuff that these hoarders keep. You're not going to need shriveled up crisp packets.
Old copies of newspapers, metros and things like that. So you're
not going to have that, and everything's online nowadays.
But that's part of the addiction because they feel that they might need it. And also, as well, by collecting something, you're not engaging with the real world because you are doing something that has a process that makes sense within its own world, which means that you don't have to connect with all the awful, horrible things that are happening.
So there's actual psychological reasons for this.
Yeah.
This is a kind of mental health disorder.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people watch those shows just to laugh at them.
Yeah.
And just to say, what are these people doing?
Norris McWhirter is encouraging this by handing out Guinness World Records to people who do it the most.
that is particularly bad. Anyway, we've got time now for just one more story, and this is a warning to consumers over naughty Christmas presents, Francis.
Exactly. So it's about people being advised to steer clear of chastity cages and other utterly bizarre objects.
Chastity cages?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to explain what that is in a kind of family-friendly way?
Yeah, I will, mate. I've been in one for the last 40 years. But anyway, experts have urged the public to beware of some of the more dangerous sex toys available online. They're saying avoid metal penis cages, seems to me something you should do anyway, and refrain from inserting 35 centimetres...
we've actually got a picture of one. Did we have to see that?
Yeah.
Goodness me. Take that off the screen, please. I mean, look, the thing is, the chastity cages, things like that, I've actually seen things like that, because they're from the Victorian era.
Yeah.
They used to have them in the...
they are, Andrew.
They are! Like, in the Welcome collection in London, they have some of these old sort of chastity cages.
Right.
But what a strange story.
So you'd send your husband off to work wearing that. So
well, I mean, there's loads of medieval romances which are all about, a woman is fixed with a chastity belt to keep her.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. They're brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, a lot of people now can just use their. You don't need a chastity cage. Just use your personality.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Interesting. Any New Year's resolutions?
By the way, there's also something that Leo might like. It's a life-size silicone baby which claims to allow men to experience the miracle of childbirth.
If it's life-size, I think that's going to be a difficult thing to experience.
A life-size silicone baby?
Yes. And you can give birth to it and then feel like a mother.
I've had enough of this. Any New Year's resolutions before we go?
I'm going to write a book.
Are you?
Yeah.
What's your book going to be about?
It's going to be called I Can Make You Right Wing. It's going to make whoever reads it will turn right wing.
Yeah.
Did you have a show called that at one point? So it's going to be based on your show?
No, because the show really had nothing to do with the title.
Oh. Okay, what about you, Francis?
I'm going to give birth to a life-size silicone baby.
Well, on that Beautiful image. Thank you, Francis, for that image. That is all we've got time for, I'm afraid. Thank you to my guests, Leo Kearse and Francis Foster. And please make sure that you tune in tomorrow for Headliners. We'll be taking you through the next day's papers. It'll be Simon Evans in the hot seat, joined by Leo Kearse again, and the big dog himself, Nick Dixon. See you tomorrow.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debate, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.